Hey everyone, before we do the market rundown, just want to remind people that we've got our free course posted about it on social media, but if you missed it, I'll put the link in the description of this video or in the comments. It's a free course, Introduction to Technical Analysis. It's targeted towards people just getting their foot in the door or perhaps some skeptics of technical analysis, and it's free, no credit card, no nothing. Sign up, take the course, win. Let's go. So looking at the Canadian MJ sector to start it off, and then we'll end with the US MJ sector. Tomorrow we have the FOMC, where the Federal Reserve is going to let us know, are they going to cut rates or not? And if they don't let us know, we're going to dissect their language and make assumptions. So there's a 18% chance or so that we're going to get a rate cut tomorrow. If there's a rate cut, the market will react bullish, in my opinion. If we do not get a rate cut, well, let's just say there's a 70% chance or so that there's going to be a rate cut in July. So right now the market is pricing in a rate cut in July. It's not anticipating one tomorrow. If we get one, it'll be bullish. If we don't get one, won't be a significant bearish reaction, but it'll be the language that we get going forward as to whether or not we are going to get one. So that's going to have some significant implications on the market as a whole. The S&P 500 is less than 1%, or today it was at least, less than 1% away from the all-time high. So clearly we've seen a bit of a discrepancy between what the correlation is between SPY and the MJ space. But as we know, it's only going to be a good thing if the market hits all-time highs. That means confidence is high. That means the higher risk sectors can potentially see some more capital come in. We also have CGC earnings Thursday after hours. So two significant events to impact the short term. We have our tightening range on CGC with our low, high, higher, low. Anything under 44.17 is a lower high. And it is my assumption that it's going to require a reaction to earnings to either break 44.17 or break 40.45. So if we get a bull break, it'll be the first daily trend change since 52.74. That would be notable. And if we get a bear break, we're looking right back down at 38.38. Cron didn't really see much bounce follow through at all today. So low, high, higher, low. We're scouting a lower high, but this is a very weak bounce at this point. The bulls certainly want more follow through than that. And they faded with a pullback in the morning sideways and then a further pullback into the afternoon. So overall, not ideal for the Cron bulls at this point. And again, when's the last time we've seen two solid days? Not since our top up here. Since we started consolidating, the bears have had pretty clear control. Cron and AP, I would assume that the biggest correlation reactions to CGC earnings will be Cron, APHA, ACB, our big boys. Probably TLRY to a certain degree. APHA looks a lot like ACB. So high, low, lower, high. Bulls were hoping this was a higher low. Did we change the hourly trend? And no, we did not. We saw a bounce. We pulled back. We have no hourly higher low and higher high. We have not changed the hourly trend. So we're not confident that our daily higher low has been set. And it's certainly a very weak bounce attempt, very similar to Cron. ACB, just sideways trading. Bears have complete control as long as the lower highs hold. 816, 807, and anything under 807 is a lower high. Support is down at 770, make that 736 and 713. TLRY, also just consolidating. Anything under 42.76 is a lower high. Daily inside bar, not a lot going on today. So I mentioned in the video yesterday that I am focused on USMJ. That's just due to the volatility and the bounces and the 15 to 18% bounce follow through. That's where there's opportunity for me and my trading style. That doesn't mean I'm giving up on Canadian MJ. I'm well aware that we have a potential catalyst heading into October or heading into December and just the regular seasonality of the sector. So I'm watching the Canadian MJ space and I will definitely hop in and out as I see fit, but I don't see any clear setups that I like at this point. And we need some clear daily trend changes, which the bulls have just been struggling to put together. So I'm pretty confident that the seasonality will change again and we will get a shift. When that shift occurs remains to be seen, but I'm being very patient. I am not being over aggressive. I trade this space when it's very aggressive and when it's very bullish, and when it's bearish and in consolidation mode, I'll still trade it when the opportunity is there, but I pump the brakes really hard. And if you looked at the dollar volume that I've traded in the Canadian MJ space, you know, the first three months of this year compared to the last 3 months, it is essentially night and day. OGI. OGI tried to bounce. It's a daily bear flag. We have an hourly bounce that has no trend change yet. We have to hold 824 and break 888 to change the hourly trend, because right now this weak bounce attempt is a textbook bear flag, and the burden of proof is on the bulls to do something by getting over $9 and negate this potential bear flag. Otherwise, we look for another leg down. So as I've expressed, my interest in the USMJ names are the ones with the monthly higher lows. IAN lost its monthly higher low. Doesn't mean I'm not going to trade it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have a long position, but I'm absolutely going to factor that in to my determination of the size of my position and how I treat it going forward. So when I look at these names, I pointed out recently, but when I look at OGI and Hexo and these names on the monthly time frame, just like I was looking at Cron on the monthly time frame as it approached its exponential support, I am looking at the bulls to form monthly higher lows. So this is a long-term chart that is just fine. This chart can sit through monthly consolidation, no big deal whatsoever at this point. Hexo, daily time frame, no bounce, daily inside bar, just trying to hold on here. If we do see the inside bar break bullish, we're going to look for a daily lower high compared to 680, not even close to a daily trend change, which is why I'm not interested, and we're not at extreme oversold levels, which is why I'm not interested. But the monthly time frame is going to form a higher low compared to 302 unless there's some monumental collapse. So I am interested as long as that monthly uptrend is intact. TRST continues to do nothing for bulls. Can't even get any green. Monthly time frame, much different. I would put TRST and IAN in very similar boats. It's a monthly equilibrium still intact, but 594 is a must hold. And there's no sign of the bulls on these time frames. Exponential moving averages, 12 and 26 period on the daily time frame are some good guides, at least visually, for clear rejection points on these consolidation periods, on these pullbacks. And we'll look at the USMJ names, which have a good number of clear rejections from that point as well. VFF, not a very strong bounce. We broke support from this tightening pattern, which automatically starts to favor the bears. And now this bounce is just having no follow through. If we roll over and break 12.15, we're looking right back down at 11.56 and 11 psychological. 11.56 and 11.53 before the gap fill. So that's a weak bounce attempt, and there's just no bull volume behind it. Don't know why Bitcoin's here. I meant to do T-God. T-God, solid bounce today. Anything under 367 is just a daily lower high, keeping the downtrend intact. So to change this trend, we're going to have to bounce with a higher low and a higher high. That's going to take at least a week to play out, if it's going to take place at all. Monthly time frame for T-God, another one that I'm not so interested in. We will be watching for a monthly high or low, but I'm less interested in a name that is this far from its all-time high and is coming off the all-time low than I am on a name like OGI or Hexo that's coming off the all-time high. It's a different setup. So while we're still there with support, and while we can still stay in a tightening range, if we get a bull break, we would still be way off of that all-time high. I want to be in a name where if it gets a monthly bull break, we're in all-time highs. Word of the day is all-time highs. IIPR, all-time highs. 125.67. Clearly a volume climax kind of candlestick, the highest daily volume that we've seen in months. Congrats to the bulls. They are just exploding with a 30% move from the low of just 6 days ago. Have we lost the hourly uptrend? Not yet. So if we see a bear break of 118.10, daily consolidation is underway, and we're going to look for a daily higher low to form. And if that level holds, the bulls will keep control. But we saw profit taking at the end of the day, indicating the potential of a temporary top. And nice timing by management, putting out a news release right on the verge of all-time highs about a raise in the dividend. In my opinion, that was not just a coincidence of timing. That's a good job on them. CL, bounce leader for USMJ. Congrats to these bulls. Big time. 29% bounce from the low 3 days ago. That's why I'm playing the USMJ space, because of that kind of volatility. And look at the monthly chart. Monthly uptrend on CL. That's a long lower wick. We still need to change the daily trend. The bulls have a lot of space to work with to form a daily higher low and higher high, but we have to remain skeptical until they do that. Because nobody in the MJ space, shouldn't say nobody, but most names are not changing daily trends yet. So we need a clear daily trend change. When we lose the hourly trend, the hourly uptrend, our temporary top will be set. 1360 is support. We have a double top of 1483 and 1488. If we lose the hourly uptrend, top of the daily bounce is set, and we have to form a daily higher low. But impressive for CL. TRUL, decent follow through as well. Nice little uptick in bull volume. Still not very impressive compared to previous action, but at least it's going up. The resistance is 1491. And if we don't break 1491, the bulls are going to hope for an inverse head and shoulders pattern with the left shoulder, the head, and a right shoulder. So 1491, if we lose the hourly uptrend without breaking 1491, 1417 is that support. If we lose the hourly uptrend without breaking resistance, that inverse 4-hour or that inverse daily head and shoulders pattern is going to be the bull's only hope. But a nice strong close, and watching 491 tomorrow. And I've ordered these USMJ names from generally strongest to weakest on their bounces. OH, nice solid follow through as well. Again, the correlation is breaking a bit between CL and OH. Why isn't OH going up as much as CL? Because again, the reason OH dumped more is because there's now added risk and added distrust, let's call it, that the deal is going to go through. So that bearish news made it less likely for the deal to go through, so the correlation is breaking a little bit. It's still a solid bounce. From these lows, we've still gone a solid 20%. And I have now entered a point on OH where I am very comfortable holding what I have left and going to see if we can change a daily trend on this bounce. Again, the uptick in volume is notable on USMJ. That, for me, increases the odds that daily higher lows can form. If we were seeing declining bull volume, the odds that we could drop to lower lows would be higher than the fact that we're seeing little increased volume. And again, exponential resistance. Last couple bounce attempts have been unable to get over it. Last 4, and here it is approaching again. C-Web, solid bounce, close at the high of the day. Daily resistance is 1766 and 1817. So we're watching those levels. And again, we haven't really tested the exponential resistance yet. It's just been following us down. And now we just closed over the first one, the 12 period, for the first time. But we still need a clear daily trend change with a higher low and higher high for it to have meaning. What's the monthly for C-Web look like? Still looking for a monthly higher low, but again, on this size of a pullback, we would just look for a monthly lower high as well, whereas other names could potentially see continuation. So this would go in the middle category as far as strength. IAN losing its monthly uptrend, and TRST with the amount it's pulled back are on the weaker end. Names like C-Web that have pulled back enough that we would expect a monthly equilibrium once we do find a support are in the middle, and names that have pulled back for a clear monthly higher low that could potentially see continuation to new all-time highs are the strongest. Trulieve, resistance of 1070, but the most important for me is 1193. Daily exponential resistance, rejecting the price on the way down, that's now in play. This bounce is not very strong. It's a potential bear flag. We can compare bounces by saying, number one, what's the percentage of the bounce off the low? And number two, with where we closed today, what's the percentage before we drop to lower lows? So if we're comparing Trulieve, it would take a 6% pullback to be back at the lows. And if we compare that to our stronger names, even just OH, which isn't the strongest, but OH would need over 15%. That's a very big difference as far as how much breathing room the bulls have. And as we go down this list, we have even less and less breathing room. MedMen, I guess MedMen's in the middle of the road. It's still a clear downtrend on the daily. Anything under 311 is a lower high. But the bulls are doing their best to establish some support and try and shift momentum. Exponential resistance here as well. Need to get over those levels. Keeping an eye on it, but not really being impressed by the bulls a whole lot. IAN, lots of pullback today. It was very clear to me that IAN, the last 2 days, is starting to lead the USMJ space. And I don't expect that to keep up forever, but I think it's due to the news coming out and the higher open, the 6% or whatever it was, higher open, and then the USMJ sector all bounced as one. And then IAN was the first to top out of the major names yesterday. And then one by one, we started to see some weakness creep into Trulieve and creep into OH, leading to that pullback. But IAN pulled back first. So I'm going to continue to watch and see how that correlation continues to play out. But we got the target on IAN. I put out the video Sunday night where I said, 15%, just a very rough figure. We bounced 16%. So I exited more this morning at the open. I exited yesterday at the end of the day. And I was tempted to reload today, but I held off. And I was just tempted to reload the position that I sold into morning strength. And I didn't because it's looking less and less likely that New York is going to legalize. So that's always been my opinion as to what's going to play out. And we're getting this wishy-washy back and forth. But with the numbers that have started to increase percentage-wise, someone's saying 50%, someone's saying 60%, that starts to get priced in a little bit. So now if it's a 0% chance, that can lead to a bit more downside as it prices in that it's not happening, 0% chance. So that is why I held off for that potential negative impact that's coming. And again, percentage pullback above our low. How much space do we have to work with? IAN only has about 4 or 5% to work with before we drop to lower lows from where we stand now. The bulls must change the 4-hour trend with a higher low and a higher high. And they're just not doing it. And if IAN drops down to a daily lower low, the odds that any other individual name could drop down to a daily lower low increase, in my opinion. So I've exited very significant amounts of my total position into this bounce, knowing I'm playing against the trend, knowing we're going to form daily lower highs, knowing that I'm going to have to sit through consolidation to try and see some higher lows out there. And I'm certainly much more confident right now that OH can form a daily higher low than I am on IAN. But I would just be looking to reload shares that I sold at profit and reload them if we do drop to a lower low. I'm going to keep playing the oversold bounce game because it keeps working for me. And I know eventually once the real bottom is in and we see some actual follow through in the sector, that there will be some significant rewards. So just minimizing losses, locking in short-term profit, and keeping myself protected for when the eventual bounce takes place. GTII is also extremely weak. Close at the low of the day. That's a daily bear flag, absolutely. And the percentage drop before we see lower lows is about 3%. Anything on the daily chart under 1640 was just a lower high. Can't even put 2 green days together in a row. Last time we had 2 green days was literally a month ago. So bottom line, we have some short-term impacts on the market coming up. I don't think the USMJ space is going to be very affected by CGC earnings, but we're going to keep watching the USMJ space for daily trend changes, which will be notable. When I look at a name like this, or I look at a name that is coming off of an all-time high and hasn't changed the daily trend since that all-time high was hit, let's look at Hexo. 840 is the all-time high. Clear daily downtrend with no higher low and higher high on this entire pullback. This reminds me of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. I said this today when I was live, and it's because it's a hype market and they're very similar as far as emotions go and big gains, big pullbacks, emotional traders. And we are looking at a scenario where Bitcoin pulled back from 20 grand to 3,000, and then it changed the weekly trend for the first time since all-time highs, and that was our bottom for now. We just went from 3,000 to not over 9,000, and the weekly trend change confirmed at 4,300. So over 100% follow through. So I'm looking for daily trend changes. For this is a shorter term time frame than the year-long pullback for the crypto space, but daily trend changes for the first time since coming off of all-time highs will be a notable shift in sentiment in this space. So that's something that I'm watching for on some of these tier 2 Canadian MJ names. Hope you're well. Do good things. See you tomorrow.